Παραθμό λίγα δισούθρο του κομμροράβου, μορονάτιος άτραμου ουρίσιο διείτος ρίτο δοξέιτο κουλατουζέ. أبوثم عليو أحمل وحوثو رحيمة غالب شيء عفيتو أجو مالوبا من مهدسة شبهور رابو سيحوثو غلبي منو محوريني ماسكرينو اليوم مستقبلين موران وكمرو ورابو يخاف شوفيلي كتشاديو مهاركي بوليبو لديمقراطو يوثو دبليثو وبارلمنتو دسوي بينديثو دستوكم شينو سينا اليوم احنا كتنا ابن ديعيتو سريتو دوامو سريويو ونو يماسكريمو كتنا هادوم ديعيتاتي بشمدو بارتي دا كريس ديمقراط دا مشيخي ديمقراطوي بشمدو بارتي دا سوسيال ديمقراط كلنا كلهم شينا فيتو اليوم تودي لا ترتاب رشيا لا ترى حسب كدنا نركي بس تم ياخي حسب بنيامين حسب يوريوس وعملنا برشيا زيت عماري شو لدال سيعوثو هو البروارلي عن ويدن ذات تشالما هو اللي يكونوا هكا اليوم محضرينا في تحرستاتي ولمودانو لجن سيدنا وكم ريضا دمشما وقولوا إيه كانوا ثو دعا مصريويو إيه عسكو ثو أيو نعسكاني دقعيشي وعام مشيحو يبقاو دوما تنحو سويو آتي أكيد فولر إيه ذحتاتي ديدي موثر عمينا وكتورس طبعا عمو ميدانو إيدو المولي بفرش زي يوم ثاني نفقينا مورو معدرينا لو عميدان بمومونو بمورال وبودا قد السياسي انو هادومو ببرلمنتو دسويت بيسحتو دشولي باروي بيسحتو دشولي بحيولي دوريتي وحمسي شيلونو دشولي ترافيك دي انفراستراكشر كيمنالات كي دسويت عمال بس غالب شوال مدوع عميدان كن جربنا داخل دين كاميري نفكر النورا احنوني نقداتينو بناقينو بقولات نداوينو قويمو ببرلمنتو دسويت ما حدو لي تلوثوني شب كاموتي شوال من اللي كلوز معود بلجانية حملية كيتشو إزبوتو دوعا مصريو يبواترو دسويت حملية كيتشو إزبوتو دو باردي دمشيحو ديمقراطي ديدولي دسويت وحملية ست كيتشو أشولي أزدقي أحكا دوعا ممشيحو يوغاونو يدو ما دلتون سويون بنو غناكي مثلو إسيا سيدة مكيبا منطو شولي منطو دوي جاتشاكنا نتكيكون نتيجة نوفو قانوني يعني حقيقة سيدنا مورنيوس كورس بنيامين أطاش سيدنا موريوليوس ابن حقلو شعبو أيضا ذات تشالما كيتشو وستي ريشو دين دابرونو تو ديس اوتي تو دي مرعيتو سيدنا حسيو أبلحات كريد هاملي تعبو غلبي لجن قبرينا منطينا دخلقنا نيكونو لجناعيتا وثيلا مسكي زدقو دمو منو كمينا لشركة ويف ما هادوبي هانا ويلا يفرونو غلبي لاعيتا وثو بنش نحاروياني بمليوني كلات ما هادوبي دعيتو آتي دعيتو لجميعتو مشوشتو بطورو إنه بشخص يدي كبير منه زبنو ياريخو بعودنا ورزبطو رسيكو هاويني مملو عموريشو تركيا ولا تشو بريزيدنت تركيا في البرلمان الدسويت ناقشنا مشو ولا رسيكو ناحتنا البرلمان تركيا امانو تشو وزير دشو لباروي ناقشنا مشو ولا رسيكو احلو هذا الدينا وسيكو دعايش وعام مصرية وعام مشيحو يباثرو دنابو وغديو طمانية زد متر مليون دختيلي على الكتبية شيحو انفلوت مشيحوية ميتاخدر مدور دبليثو كلها بس شولانو نكلم وغلب عليه يعني ميت مشتو كتولانات يتحرش سيمناري مو بارلمنتو اول بارلمنت سيمناري مسيمو بارلمنتو دسويت سيمونانو نحضروني بشمو باتي لا باكي سيموكرا سيدنا وفاتر الروكم ريدا عند الكل غلب على الشولان ونركعوا مع خنوبو غلبي بس ميلك كيبان دمينا وفرحوا انه ذهابي نسبة ودسيكو ما قويو ميدا نسريوي ما حيو دي مشكتوسي معيتا وثو أديو مهولة فيري أديو مهولة فيري سمينا ودخرون دمو إشني دوسيكو غلب دول بدلوا فكرته بلشنا كاموين خدمينا وعلو سيكون عايشين على يميرو دكتور حقتو عاملوا يبيعوا لبي ولا نهدنا بس عود العودة أن يحصلش ليز بوثاتي حش يحصلشني هو لا فيري اليوم وبرلمان أوروبا وواتيكان وغلب الدول زمن تلاقي دول بتمخبلي كم اليوم وعا مصريويو كالدويو أوثرويو أرمنويو وليونويو بونتس جريكي كمينالن دعايش حنفوثاتي دقشيري مواطرة تركيا كنتو هذا تشعني الميسن دولي حاعمو محالي شوانا يشايلو مني يبدو ميتو طاي يبدو مختبيتو كودو مكالب نجغالية دي چكي بسويدي او غاتينا الحبوبة چكي رجندوه كلامو كيتو نوشو بانو رابو هركي ندكري سويدي مجغانو خبر سريو يسمو سببانو Det är viktigt att vi driver på frågan om fredagszon. Fredagszon har jag drivit under de senaste 10-15 åren. För att jag vet att det är det enda som kan rädda kristendomens, kristna folkgruppernas överlevnad och framtid i Irak. Detta säger alla våra kyrkoledare, det säger alla partiledare, alla kristna ledare i Irak. Och denna fråga, tack vare Kristdemokraterna, har lyfts till EU-parlamentet genom Rashad Akhtosam. Han var med mig under min senaste resa i Irak. Europaparlamentet har i en resolution fattat beslut om att kristna och andra minoriteter behöver en fredagszon i Nineve-regionen. Jag driver den här frågan i Sveriges riksdag. Senast förra veckan debatterade jag denna fråga med utrikesministern. Det är viktigt att vi allihopa tillsammans jobbar mot FN så att FN tar denna fråga på allvar och ser till att det blir verklighet. För det är det enda som kan få flyktingarna att återvända hem. Det är det enda utifrån den situation som råder i landet som kan få dem leva i fred och frihet, i trygghet i sitt eget hemland.
Varför? Era gäster. Jag ska försöka fatta mig kort så att vi kan ge ordet till våra patriarken Afrem den andra. Våra barn Matteus Afrem den andra patriark av Antiochia och hela Östern och huvudet för den universella syriska kyrkan. Och era biskopar, ärkebiskop Malmolios, ärkebiskop Malmolios och ärkebiskop Dionysos och era andra präster och gäster. Varför? Vi är jätteglada att ha patriarken här i Sverige och i Sveriges riksdag. Mitt namn är som sagt Jonas Kring och jag är riksdagsledamot sedan 1998. Vi är 50 år i riksdagen för Socialdemokraterna. Och vi gör vårt bästa för att kämpa folket i Sverige och även göra vårt bästa för alla människors lika värde och demokrati i Mellanöstern. Vi kämpar för frihet, demokrati och alla människors lika värde. Och oavsett bakgrund, oavsett vilket etniskt man har, så ska man behandlas lika. Här i Sverige och i Mellanöstern. Tyvärr är detta det brister i hemlandet. Det är därför jag är här, det är därför många av oss är i Sverige. För att komma undan förtryck och fred och frihet. Det ser mycket på vårt folk, assyrier har på 30 år haft 2 kyrkor, tv-kanaler, fotbollslag, politiker på alla nivåer. På 30 år bara. Men samma folk har inte lyckats med allt detta på 2000 år i hemlandet. Detta ser allt. Detta visar att det brister i demokratin. Detta visar att mycket behöver göras. Fast vi kommer från hemlandet, fast det är ursprungsbefolkningen, Syrien, Irak, Turkiet. Men som sagt, det vi har åstadkommit här på 30 år har vi inte lyckats göra i vårt hemland på 2000 år. Det finns mycket kvar att göra. Och det ska vi göra tillsammans. med patriarken, med kyrkan, med föreningarna, inte minst vill tacka även Albert Varley och Aydin Zetterkällen som har gjort detta möte tillsammans med kyrkorna. Vi tillsammans, kyrkan, föreningarna, politikerna, demokrati, vänner, ska göra allt för att det blir demokrati i hemlandet så att alla ska kunna leva i fred, sida vid sida med turkar, med kurder, med araber, tillsammans med lika villkor. Det är jätteviktigt. Jag ska som sagt fatta mig kort, säga bara några ord som är viktiga. Seiho, vi är stolta att första landet i världen som har erkänt folkmordet på assyrier/syrianer. Första parlamentet som har gjort det. Jag menar inte armeniska, jag menar nämnt assyrier/syrianer i folkmordet. Första parlamentet. Nu gäller det att följa upp det så att vi vill fortsätta på detta. Sen Moldavien ockuperas fortfarande. Och vi måste integrera oss så att vi tar en del av samhället. Vi blir aktiva partier och kämpar hela samhället i Sverige och i Västsverige så att tillsammans göra vårt bästa för alla våra vänner. Vi har fått energi av patriarken och vi behöver mer energi så att tillsammans kämpa för rättvisa och frihet för alla människor. Det var det som var ett par meningar på vårt modersmål också, sen ska jag lämna ordet till patriarken. Seydna Varbetsjöhöjna Hacket, Varbetsjöhöjna, Kulofran Energi, energi Kulofran och energi då gözüm meltikane, Domin Alam, Kulin Amdode, Ibe, Hodre, Tukose, Kulin Amdode, Bria Leshen Demokrati, Dove, Betnahrin, Leshen Hati, Lutena, وعاملنا كتب بتاعين احنا كتبنا انا حدينا ولوسي حاوري روبرت خلفست مولنا بتشكي حدينا سينا كل مده ليش كده ممكن تويزودو بتاعين عاملنا فوش تامو ليش كوش بس فوش تامو لو مكتر لو ميدش فوش تامو ميدا مختار يوزو ليش فوش تامو مدتا مليونين لقول تي باتريارك بورغاتوس
دحايا فولي قوي بسوي هكي قرارات رابطة مودي هكي كوهرية صبوة الوعى ودسر الأول سي قدمت بيوت وغلبة لروح ميدان أنا بديري تايدان أمبرخ ويلماز كريم وروبرت خلف فقو يوم حرين سكتلنا كبو برلمان محاضرة يجب تافه طبعا بشغلوته الأحسان مع الهاي والكوميتي لسه عرفه خدينا لو بس عميق وعمسي دائما كل عمل بجوينا بس بينا بس اليوم ومهم لو قينا عمل سويدي خاصة هذا من البرلمان محمينا أورينينا منه شوريدا مني ومين تكون طينا من لو الجريد يعرف كيف بيشتغل الجريد وما نو بيدانك فهموا لي ما قلت لي واحنا كده لما تساوي فينا مشغولين على سد وثاني نستوي بالهدى طبعا بارك عليك في Your Eminences, Excellencies, distinguished members of the Swedish Parliament, Your Grace, the Bishop of Stockholm, Eva, yes. Dear friends, brothers and sisters, I greet all of you in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I'd like to express my gratitude to the organizers of this seminarium, especially to our two members of Parliament who come from our church, our people, Mr. Karimo and Mr. Robert Khalaf, for organizing this setting and this occasion to meet with you, and especially with members of the Swedish Parliament, and to give you our assessment and our aspirations, and to show you, to ask you to help us, and to show you what ways you can help the Christians of the Middle East, and particularly our Syriac-speaking people in our homeland, in Beth Nahrin, Mesopotamia, Syria, Iraq, and other areas. I value this opportunity a lot, and I'm going to focus on three main points here. First of all, it's going to be a brief history of our people, and then the current situation and what future aspirations we have. I'm very happy to have among us my dear brother, Bishop Mount Petros Mushe, the Syrian Catholic Bishop of Mosul, who is in the heart of what's happening there and in the heart of the relief efforts. Himself with the rest of the bishops are carrying out among our people, following the expulsion of our people from Mosul and from the plains of Nineveh. I'm happy also to have all of you here. And let me start by telling you how happy I am to be taking this visit to Sweden. And so far it has been very, thanks to God, very successful. Yesterday we had an occasion to meet in audience with Their Majesties, the King and the Queen of Sweden, and also with the Prime Minister, Mr. Stefan Löfven. And today I have the pleasure of meeting with you, and later on this afternoon I'm going to meet with the Foreign Minister of Sweden. And I'm grateful for finding listening ears to what I'm saying. I have found sympathy, yes, I have found understanding, and I believe, and I strongly believe, we are among friends who have been supporting of our people for many decades, but friends who are also very much concerned about what's happening in the Middle East, especially to our Christian people in the Middle East. Therefore, I'm going to jump immediately to give you a brief history of our people, where we stand, and what did we go through. I am abandoning my written notes because my written speech, because I think it's important to focus on certain areas only here. We've been in the Middle East for centuries, for thousands of millennia, thousands of years, as Christians from the beginning of Christianity, but before that, as indigenous people of the land. Our roots go back to thousands of years, and we pride ourselves with being the descendants of great forefathers, great ancestors who contributed a lot to the civilization of the world. We believe our forefathers transmitted knowledge and sciences to the Arab world, to the Islamic world, and then to Europe. We lived in Mesopotamia, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, in Jordan for thousands of years, and we managed to live with our Muslim brothers and sisters for at least 1,500 years. We learned how to live with them. It was not always easy, it was not always peaceful. We had many periods of persecution, but we managed. We learned how to live with them. We respected them and they respected us. We respected their peculiarities and they respected our peculiarities. It was peaceful in general, it was peaceful coexistence until, of course, the great massacres and genocide of 1915. And we as Syriac-speaking Christians, which includes members of our Syrian Church of Antioch, the Syrian Catholic Church, the Syrian Church of the East, and the Chaldean Church, we suffered a lot for the mistake of, which is not our own. I'm not saying there was a mistake which brought upon us this this genocide, and I don't believe there is any reason for genocide, because genocide is the result of the refusal of a person to see the other person as an equal human being. That's basically what genocide is, when we are not able to recognize the humanity of the person who is next to us. Therefore, we try to get rid of that person, whether it's one person, collectively as a nation, or as a group of people. And I don't believe there's any reason for us not to see each other's humanity and to experience and to live together in peace. There are always differences of opinion, but that should not lead to the annihilation of nations and of peoples en masse. We lost more than 500,000 of our Syriac-speaking Christians in the former Ottoman Empire. And this year is the 100th anniversary of those massacres and that genocide. And when we demand recognition of the Seifo, we do that not out of revenge or out of hatred to other people, but rather we feel it's part of our process of healing our wounds, which have not been healed for 100 years, and also starting a reconciliation process with the people who are responsible for this genocide. And at this time and this occasion, I take this occasion to thank you, members of the Swedish Parliament, for being the first country, the first state in the world to have recognized our Seifo. Yes, there are many nations who recognize the Armenian genocide, and that's great. We thank all these nations, but Sweden was the first country to have recognized our Seifo. The government, which was, I believe, the driving force, I mean, the parties that make the current government were the driving force behind that recognition. I hope and pray that now they are in power, they will implement this recognition and they will make it, give it life, and give it, because I hear that there may be some discussion on the floor of the Parliament concerning this recognition. I hope and pray it will be reaffirmation of the recognition and also finding ways how to implement this recognition. And I'm so happy to say that many countries followed Sweden in recognizing the Seifo. Our people lost a lot during Seifo. Many of our bishops, clergy, hundreds of churches and monasteries, and hundreds of thousands of people were killed. And that left an eternal mark in our conscience and in our ethos as people. We can never forget that, because we were reduced to less than 1/3 of our original population. But thank God, after Seifo, our people were able to once again stand on their feet and to establish their institutions, rebuild their churches, and rebuild their lives. And after less than 100 years of Seifo, we are witnessing another Seifo that is again killing our people, kidnapping 2 of our bishops, Gregory Suhanna Ibrahim and Bruce Sergi, we do not have real information about their whereabouts and about their safety, but we hope and pray they are safe and they will come back to us. And just recently, last week, a priest of our Syrian Catholic Church was kidnapped in Syria, and again, we do not know much about his fate. It continues. Seifo did not stop in 1918 or 20. It continues until today, and I'm afraid we will always have Seifo, because as Christians, we were never promised safety. We were never promised comfort in the world, but rather conflict and persecution. Yet our persecution in the Middle East is not only religious-based persecution. It's also, we are also persecuted because we are a distinct ethnicity. We have our own language, our own culture, our own heritage. So we were subjected to religious cleansing, but also ethnic cleansing. And it's the same thing is happening today also. Therefore, the world has to unite and to make sure that this new genocide, new Seifo, does not continue. Where do we stand today? What's happening today? The last 4 years, Christians have suffered in Syria quite tremendously. Hundreds of thousands of them have already left Syria. More than 1/3 of the Christian population is already outside Syria. Many of them are trying to come to Sweden. And Sweden is the first destination for our people. because Sweden is a country that showed hospitality and kindness to the people who came here as refugees, and because many of our people have relatives, and they will end up here one way or another. Many churches are already destroyed, many schools have been destroyed, and many homes have already been destroyed. Those people who are on their way to Sweden and to Europe have no home to go back to. So please do not tell these people go back to your homes, but they do not have homes of their own anymore. Please do not tell them to go to the first country they landed in, whether it's Italy, Spain, or Greece, because they have no communities there to take care of them. They want to join their communities. I know that puts a lot of pressure on Sweden, on the Swedish people, on the Swedish government, financial, social, and otherwise. But you, the Swedish people, have shown generosity and respect for the human dignity. And we want you to please continue that tradition with our people, because here in Sweden, our people have become Swedish people without losing their cultural identity. They have become full citizens. They have established themselves personally, individually, as well as collectively as a community. They have integrated quite well into the Swedish society. The presence of several members of the parliament from our community and the minister in the cabinet is a great example of this assimilation. But still, these members of the parliament and our children are still speaking their Aramaic language. And we cannot do that in lots of places. There are many countries where our people are forced to assimilate and to basically just disappear as a community, as an ethnic community. But here in Sweden, thanks to you, we are able to preserve our identity, our culture, our traditions. At the same time, our people feel the responsibility and they are trying to give back to the society. We have so many successful business people. We have so many successful educators, artists in all walks of life. So if this tells you anything, it tells you that these new refugees also will be successful in their life. Therefore, do not be afraid of them. They have no agenda, they have no hidden agenda. Their agenda is only to find safety and to find a good environment to grow as a community and as individuals. We have thousands of Iraqi people here that have no paperwork, they have no documentation. Please don't send them back, because what used to be their home is no more. Iraq is also our historical homeland. And I'm not going to go into deep history here, but I'd like just to talk to you about what happened last year. On June 10th of last year, Daesh, ISIS, attacked them. And our Christian people from Mosul, Daesh attacked Mosul, and our Christian people from Mosul had to flee because they were given the option either to convert or to pay a hefty tax or to leave, otherwise they would be killed. And of course, all of them left. And when they left on their way out of Mosul, they were robbed of all their belongings. They became refugees in another part of our homeland, in the Lake of Linway. They were received by our people in the villages of the Plain of Linway. And during that time, about 3 days after that expulsion, I was visiting these refugees in the villages of the Plain of Linway. In Bartule, Bashiqa, Arakosh, Bahzani, all these villages. But then, less than 2 months later, and on August 6th, these villages, same villages that received the refugees, that offered home for the refugees were attacked. These villages were attacked by ISIS, and those who were supposed to guard and protect these villages from the Peshmerga, from the Kurdish fighters, and from others, all of a sudden disappeared, and the villages were invaded by ISIS. And now everybody, not only the 15 to 20,000 who came from Mosul, but the 120,000, the inhabitants of this village also had to leave. And they had to find a place. And they had to walk miles and miles, hours and hours. Elderly people, little children, some of them were even born just a day before they left, or 1 day or 2 days after they arrived in the Kurdish region of Iraq. And I went to see them again within days of their arrival in Kurdish, in Erbil and in Iraq. And what did I see there? I saw our people, the survivors of the first genocide of Saifo. I saw them under tents on the streets of Erbil. Many of them without basic needs. Under the sun, the heat of August and September, and it will be very intense. Thousands of them the church managed to put them inside little caravans, 3 by 6 meters each, and about 5 to 7 people inside each of these caravans. Imagine. These are our people that are used to quite high standard of living there. Now, the situation today may be better. Because most of these people, thanks to the church work there and to the organizations that help the church, most of these people are housed in shared apartments. Still, you have 15 to 20 people in one apartment living together. And you know what? Despite all this misery, there are still many people there who insist on staying in the homeland, refusing to leave. Yes, there are many who are leaving also, but there are thousands who would like to go back to their villages. I will never forget that little kid, two twins, about 6, 7 years old, while I'm visiting one of the villages. They come to me, they open their arms. Letland Dukta. We have no place, we have no space. These little kids were talking about the physical space, of course, because there were 70 families in that village, in the whole of the church, about half of the size of this hall. There were 70 families living in that hall. And these little kids came and said, we have no dukta, we have no space, we have no place. But to me, that meant more than just a physical space. They were telling me that we don't belong here anymore. And that's the message that I did not want to hear, but I heard it. Therefore, when our people are living, we cannot tell them not to leave. Yes, we are begging them to stay there. We want them to stay there. But if they decide to leave, then who am I to tell them not to leave when I cannot guarantee their security? I cannot have a home for them and a decent living for them. And that's why I'm telling you, members of this esteemed house, please, when these people come here, don't sell them. Help them. Give them the necessary documentation to live and to prosper, and they will benefit this society. They will pay back this society. And I would like to highlight the role of the church in helping these refugees in Iraq and in Syria. I'm happy to say that the most needed help these people from the churches, not from the international organizations. Yes, there are many countries contributing, like Sweden does, to the international organizations, but very little of that help is reaching the people on the ground. While churches spend every penny that comes, spend it on the refugees. Not only on our people, but on the others too. In Iraq, for example, there are hundreds of thousands of Yazidis who also were expelled from their homes. And believe me, the churches are helping the Yazidis there too. And in Syria, we have at our Patriarchate Committee for Development and for Relief, St. Ephraim Patriarchate Committee, and I can tell you that more than 70% of the people we serve are non-Christians. And we do that gladly because that is our responsibility, that is our message, our mission as Christians to serve the needs of the people. And we serve them with anything from baby formula to milk to clothes to food baskets to education and health services, and that's the bulk of our budget goes to the health services. We send these needy people to the doctors, to the hospitals, to the pharmacies, and we take care of all the expenses. And of course, we cannot do that without the help of our diocese throughout the world, and also the help of friends and Christian churches and Christian organizations. And I'm glad to say that for a change, a country is helping us to help these people, and that's the country of Germany. I know this is a very touchy issue to a country or a state working with the church and state separation, but Germany has found and has come to see the value of working with the local churches, where we serve not only our members but everyone who needs help, where 95 to 98% of the funding that comes to our projects goes directly to the people with very little administrative expenses, while if you compare with the international organization, you know their overhead, how high their overhead is. So I would encourage you also, the Swedish representatives of the Swedish people here, and to put pressure on the government to do the same thing, to channel some of the help at least through the local churches. Because one other thing many of you do not know, the help that goes from Sweden and from other countries goes mainly to the refugee camps, correct? Goes to the refugee camps. Do you know how many of our people are not in the refugee camps? How many Christians are there? I would challenge anyone to go and see if they find even 1% there. Now, I'm not saying we should not help the refugee camps. We should. They are human beings also, they need help. But if we intend to designate some of that help for the Christian population of the Middle East, and we are human beings also, we need help. If we want to do that, then we should really focus on working with the churches inside Syria and inside Iraq. I'll stop talking about the current situation. I'd like to say a few words about what do we expect. What do we expect from you and from other friends and sympathetic countries in the world? I'd like to focus on the situation in Syria and Iraq. I believe what we need in Iraq is obviously peace, stability, and security. We need our people to go back to their villages, to be able to live their normal life. And under the current situation, they cannot do that because the villages are still occupied by Daesh. And I'm not going to go into the reasons why Daesh is there and how could Daesh be there. There are only 1,700 armed soldiers or Daesh members when they came to Mosul, and apparently someone decided to let them get in. I'm not going to go into that, but our people need to go to Mosul and to their villages, and when that's So the first thing will be to help liberate these villages and these towns around the city of Musa in the plains of Nimrud. And when that is done, we hope that the international community will come together to designate that area as a safe haven for our people. That they can go there with guaranteed security, guaranteed by the international community and by the United Nations, at least for some time, until our own young people who are being trained now take responsibility and be able to protect their own little enclave there. Why are we saying this? Because unfortunately, the international community failed us, the central government of Baghdad failed us, was not able to protect us, and those who were protecting us from the Peshmerga and the Kurdish forces also abandoned these villages the day before Daesh invaded them. So we do not trust anyone to protect our people there. There is an opportunity to help these people resettle in their historical homeland, in their settling enclave, and to be helped to live there again their normal life. That would be the concept we are pursuing with all leaders that we meet with, and I'm glad to say that the European Parliament took up that approach, and it was mentioned in the resolution concerning Christians in the Middle East that was issued earlier this year. And I tend to believe that our meeting with the President of the European Parliament and other parties there, especially the EPP, I believe contributed to convincing the European Parliament that that is an option and that can happen. And when we go to Syria, of course, if I may add about Iraq, we would like to see Iraq a strong country. We would like to see it preserving its territorial integrity, to stay one country. But reality tells us something else. On the ground, we see different things. I've been to northern Iraq 4 times within 6 months, and I can tell you I see clear, defined borders and separation in the areas there. And we all know that recently, last month, again the Kurdish leadership tried and are trying to declare a statement. If that happens, that means division, that means separation is already happening. Therefore, we also have the right to demand a little place for us, because if that happens, where are we going? What will happen to the Christians who are already there? Would they be housed in Kurdistan, in the Sunni Iraq, in the Shia Iraq? I don't think we'll be able to live anywhere, live a dignified life with equality. Therefore, I tend to believe that we can pursue this concept of having safe haven, which in the future hopefully will develop into something more concrete and more useful. Syria, I would also advocate the same thing, that we should the same thing of having a strong government there. I'm hoping and praying that Syria will not, that there is no plan to divide Syria, because for us it's important to keep Syria together as one country with a strong government, a strong army that is able to protect all its citizens equally. We would like to stay in Syria, in the whole of Syria, because it belongs to us, all of it. Our name is given to that country. We'd like to see it continuing and maintained as a united Syria. But within that Syria, we have to be accepted. First of all, protected by a strong army. Second, accepted as equal citizens of that country. We cannot live in Syria also if we are not treated equally like the others. Not only in terms of religion, because we cannot claim that Syria discriminated against, or Syria discriminated against Christians in Syria. No. That's not true. We were always treated equally in terms of religion. We were always given the freedom and to worship, to practice. But we as a community have other components to our identity. That's the language, the culture, the heritage, and we would like to promote all this, preserve it and promote it. So our concept for our people in Syria is to live there, inside Syria, protected by a strong army, and live there on equal basis with the rest of the Syrian population. I hope and pray that I was able to give you an overview of what has happened and what continues to happen in Syria, and I'll be more than happy to take any questions that you may have. And I thank you for your patience and for your understanding.
Tack så mycket, tack för det Yilmaz. Your Honors, welcome to Sweden, welcome to the Swedish Parliament. It's a pleasure to have you here. My name is Serkan Köse, MP for the Social Democratic Party. Thank you for your peaceful message to us and to the world. And I'm very convinced that we together we will win against this terror organization, Daesh we call it, who is treating to humanity. Everywhere they are treating humanity and to everyone in the Middle East. Therefore, I hope we fight against them in Sweden, in Europe, in all the world, and I hope that we one day see a peaceful Middle East. To my questions, you mentioned that we are not seeing any reason to the genocide. My question is, how can we stop a new genocide in the Middle East? What is your opinion about that? What is the realistic solution for the Middle East in the nearest future? We're talking about 10, 50 years. Is that possible to create a new Syria? We are now talking about cantons in Syria. We're talking about old Syria. What is the solution there? And thank you for your time. One more time, thank you for being here in Sweden.
Thank you so much for your welcoming words. Yes, Daesh is not, it is a common enemy for all. And I hate to use the word enemy. It doesn't go with the peaceful, calling for peaceful coexistence, but Daesh is making itself enemy to all. Not only to Christians, Muslims, moderate Muslims who do not agree with Daesh are also being attacked, killed, and victimized by Daesh. Not only churches, but also mosques are being destroyed. So there is an interest for everyone to unite against Daesh. And I hope and pray the world will see that need, especially the European countries, Sweden, Germany, and others. We know there are people from Sweden who are joining these terrorists. And some of them are coming back to Sweden and to Germany. And they will, unfortunately, they will also commit violence here in Europe when they come back. So there is a mutual interest for everyone to unite against Daesh, and I believe that is the way we can stop this genocide, by being united, against Daesh. And during one of our meetings with President Obama late last year, I asked the President, the US-led coalition is supposed to go and attack Daesh base in Syria. And the Syrian army is doing the same thing. Why not coordinate this war against Daesh? Let's get rid of the danger and then sit down and talk about future political future of the area and of the city, of the country, and the future of Syria. And that takes me to your second question. Yes, I believe a new Syria is emerging. Whether this government stays or goes, a new Syria is emerging because people in Syria have tested and have experienced the danger of these organizations, Daesh and Nusra and others, and for them to solidify their stand and to strengthen their country, they need to have some political reforms there. So when I mentioned about equality and about dignity, what I had in mind is that the new Syria will not be the same whether this government stays or not. That's not the issue. The issue is that a new Syria is needed. A new Syria for all its citizens, for all those who are inside and outside, for those who are also in the opposition, they should go back and serve. Syria with a new concept, with the new changes in the constitution and in the political life of Syria. So that will be the way to make Syria again a country for all its citizens, including the Christians who are there.
The 1915 genocide is widely known as the first genocide of the modern era. In its survival today, do your holiness believe that Christians can unite and minimize the similar events in Syria and Iraq that strike our people again? What is the first practical step to reach that, especially when it comes to the first spontaneous wish of our people, at least to celebrate Christmas and Easter together? Thank you.
I believe this crisis in the Middle East and its war brought Christians much closer together. It compelled us, made us meet as religious leaders there several times as patriarchs and heads of churches, and the suffering of our people united us in responding to this suffering, and that is something good that came out of this horrible situation. And we continue to work together as churches to see how we can best help and serve the needs of our people. As far as the dates of Easter and Christmas, these are, I think, issues that we can talk about later when time allows.
It is with a great disappointment that we in Sweden can observe that the social democratic government continues a negative attitude towards our people when it comes to issues like SAFO and the establishment of safe zone in the Netherlands. The foreign minister Wallström declared after the election last year that she's an opponent to establish a safe zone for our people in Finland. She also calls the safe zone together. It must be understood according to her attitude and statement that it's far better for our people to get murdered and to be persecuted for ethnic cleansing in the streets of Baghdad, Mosul, etc. How can the leadership of our church make governments like Sweden change the negative attitude to creating a safe zone and maybe investing some political capital in the future safe zone for our people in England? Further on, Your Grace.
Konstantin, korta frågor snälla.
Det kommer kortare.
Ja, kort fråga.
Further on, Your Grace. Sweden is financing through our tax that we pay here in Sweden both training weapons for the Kurdish Guerrilla and Northern Iraq. We know eventually that this weapon will be used against our people. How can the leadership for our church persuade the Swedish government, as well as other Western governments, to provide the same training weapon for the units that affect our people in the England lane?
Konstantin, du kommer att bryta om ni kom till frågan nu. Nu ska du ställa frågan.
That was the question.
Från början, jag många som...
Last question, Your Highness, Your Grace. The safe zone requires, as well as nations people, how can the leadership organize the relocation of our people from several parts in Syria and Iraq to a future safe zone in new place.
Two questions here, and I attempt to answer them both very quickly. First one, I think should be addressed to the Social Democrats, but I will tell you what we are doing. During our meetings with the officials, this meeting in Parliament is an example at hand. We are making our opinion known that we are for safe haven, we are for the recognition of SAFO, and we expect the Parliament here to reaffirm that recognition, and also we expect the government to enact on that resolution. I'm going to meet the Foreign Minister this afternoon. I'm going to once again impress upon her the necessity to give life to that resolution, to implement it. I did the same thing with the Prime Minister yesterday. Again, I told him, and he said quietly, nicely, he said he referred it to the Foreign Minister. He said, you are going to meet with her. You should also take it up with her. I said, I will take it up with her. So we are doing that whenever we have the opportunity to meet with the officials, with the government officials. We are making that point known, not only in Sweden, but in Germany, in other areas, in other countries also, and in Syria, and in Turkey. We are asking all these governments to recognize SAFO and to allow us to talk about it and to express our feelings and put erect monuments. And I'm glad to say in Syria, for example, the government has designated a public area and called it the Syriac Martyrs Garden, and we're going to put a point to a monument there on state grounds in that essence. Second question about financing this operation. I cannot talk about buying weapons and giving this, but I would like to. This is what I'm telling the European officials that I'm meeting with, that 20 years ago, the Kurdish parties came together, and then they asked the international community for help, and the international community helped them by offering a no-fly zone, by protecting them from attacks by their enemies. And I believe they can do the same thing. They can do the same thing for our people now. Now, once that happens, the priority number one is to have somewhere a piece of land that our people feel secure. Now, later, who decides to go and live in this piece of land? That's up to the people. I don't expect many people from Europe to go back and live in Iraq. But at least those who are inside Iraq, they can call that place their own. And the people who are in Europe and in America, they can invest in that area. They can promote that area. They can create jobs there for these people and so forth.
I thought I answered that. I said that the important thing, the priority is to have a place, and those who are in Iraq, those who are in the area, to go back to their villages, and then whoever likes to go and join them, they can do that, but we cannot relocate anybody. I mean, I don't believe anyone from Europe would go there, but even from Syria. I mean, Syria is our homeland, and we'd like to stay there, but we'd like to stay there as people with dignity and with respect, as the first citizen Syrians.
كمان رابهم اليوم شهورات إلينا بمواقف دفو بكلي دفو بنقل هاوت الفاطيرخو وعدو كتاتو بالسويد الزيارات مع ليلة المستوى به فينان وهنسنة بهن ومفيرها بالسويد كبيرة بيتنا فرصة بيدو كفاثة كتاتو أكيد أشهر نحن كذا لأن بس أشهر نحن كتب جمهورنا عيبة تفوت غير شو ولي اليوم على الصيف المجدد كم جمهورنا هامي أتلفو حمشعصر وكيس الصيف كتيو علينا اليوم ممالكم على الشحوين وعلينا على السيرين وعلى أقل كل حبوب شميلة به يفيدك. كم رابو اليوم وشو لو بس بيجتو وشو لو العامل وعمو شيخويو وعمو سريويو وعمو كندويو وعمو عشوري بومي بيشكلوا في الدوي أنا ما بقليمو وعراق سوريا ديلونوي تركيا كعينا ووضع كامل يبقى بينا العودو بس بومي لكل جوي أنا ما بوهرا هاوي شكلوفو ديمقراطيين استقرار تعميل الدوي تام هل احنا بس قدريتو كان المشروعين كانوا او بيتابعنا ليوثو او دكثو بكونستيتيوشن يعني بيصطاد كان اليوم بيتاحت بيدو كفايه وعامو سريويو من تقدر تعمل عود الدوري اذا اكل تعمل ميلي والشيعة هاو ميلي واسنا هاو ميلي احنا فينا اي كله.
Our rights in Iraq and in Syria as Christians, are we treated, are we considered only as a church, faith community, or are we also talking about the ethnic background? And I would like to answer by saying that when we talk about Iraq, about Christians in Iraq, we're talking about these sister churches that make up that people. So the followers of these churches are the Syriacs, the people of the Church of the East, the Chaldean Church, the Syrian Catholics, of course. We are talking about not only religion there. We talk about safe haven. We talk about saving for people, not for the church. The church can exist anywhere, but these people we are targeted in two ways, as a religious minority and as an ethnic minority too. We are suffering from ethnic cleansing and religious cleansing. We were not attacked by, even first Saifo, 100 years ago, we were not attacked only as Christians, but also as people who were looked upon as foreigners to the fabric of that country or of that empire, the Ottoman Empire. We know about the young Turks and their policies of promoting Turkism and everything, and all people should belong to that Turkic race in order to live there. So we were expelled from our homeland. We were killed because we did not belong to that certain race. So it's religion and it's also ethnicity. And today also what's happening in Iraq, for example. Why are we attacked in that specific area? Is it because we do not fit in the plan for the new Iraq, the divided Iraq? Is that the reason? I tend to believe that's partially the reason. We are being attacked, we are being expelled from our homeland because we have no place within the new Iraq. And we would like to change that. We would like to make our voice heard, that we, as Christians, but also as a distinct ethnic minority, that's our homeland. Yes, the majority are not Syriacs or Chaldeans or Assyrians today, but that is our homeland. We were the majority there before Islam came and before others came. We were the majority. That's our homeland for thousands of years. And because we are a small number, we should be expected from them. That's not fair. As far as Syria, yes, I spoke about the new Syria because I believe Syria has changed and will change. No matter what the outcome is, I hope and pray that Syria will remain one and will be strong, a strong government, strong army, and the Syrian people would like to see change, and changes will happen in Syria. For us, for Christians in Syria, for the Syriac people in Syria in particular, we will demand that our rights as a distinct ethnicity also are respected and are enshrined in the Constitution and in the new Syria. And I don't want to divulge a secret, it's not a secret here, but I believe the Syrian leadership is already beginning to understand that situation, that position. I spoke about religious liberty in Syria, and I will reaffirm that again. But we had religious liberty, but we were not encouraged to to express our national feelings, our ethnic feelings, our language, our culture, our identity. But that is changing now. The Syrian government, including the president himself, now they are talking to us in terms of you, your language, your culture, your history, your background, all of it. This is a new language in Syria. That's why I have hope that from now on we will be looked upon as people who not only belong to that land, but also who are the indigenous people, the people who build that country, and the people who should be respected, because our ethnicity, our culture, our language they are a source of wealth for Syria. Syria should be proud of this.
Your Holiness has already answered my question, so I will just take the opportunity to express my happiness to see you here today, and to thank you for a good speech, and also wish you all the success in the protection of your people in these difficult times.
Thank you so much. Tack så mycket.
My name is George Ketto from Göteborg, and my question is actually twofold, but one of your answers answered my question.
Only one question, you don't
Yes,
have
I have one question.
questions.
Since he answered one of them, I am only asking one question. And that is, we are talking about safe havens in Iraq, but are Syria becoming in this situation that we have to demand a new safe haven for us in Syria?
Thank you for that question, very important question. First of all, I hope and I pray that we will not come to that scenario, that Syria will remain one united territory with territorial integrity. I was asked once by a high Syrian official, he was telling me, what's your demand as Syriac people from Syria? What do you want? I said, we want all of Syria. It's all ours and we want it all. There was another question about protection and whether we should bring all Syrians from Syria and Iraq into that safe haven. Your neighbor there asked it. Nowadays, the geography is not everything really. When we talk about safe haven in Iraq, because we're talking about certain villages and towns where our people are there, are living, and they want to go back there and stay there. But we can have our communities, our societies in different areas of the same country united in many ways, not necessarily having a geographical connection with each other. It's a concept that we should develop. It's the way of living, the rights that we're talking about to be given to us, the dignity that we are looking for, being treated as equal citizens. That these are things that we would like to see protected and guaranteed for us. But I hope and pray we will not come to a time when we say we want a safe haven in Syria. We would like to be in Syria, in all of Syria, and all of Syria should be safe for all its people. But God forbid, if Syria is going towards division like Iraq, God forbid, then we will have to also consider that, of course.
Thank you so much.
Varför kyrkan i Syrien tackat nej till att ta emot vapen från den syriska armén i syfte att kunna utöva ett förstärkt försvar vid en plötslig avsluttning?
That's a very important question. At the beginning of the crisis in Syria, we were offered protection for our churches and we refused. We were offered also weapons by the government to protect our churches. We refused because we did not want to be targeted. Once you have a weapon, then you become a target. We did not want to be targeted. We did not want to believe that we as Christians are targeted, but the whole of Syria was targeted. Therefore, we said, no, we want the army to protect us. We want the government to protect us. It's our right that the government should protect all its citizens. But of course, when things developed to the worse, And when the government is not able to protect all its people, then we see our people with arms in certain areas with weapons defending our societies, and we are not against that because we believe we should be able to defend ourselves when no one else is able to defend us, when those from government is able to defend. So priority is for the government to defend, to protect all its people. But when that's not possible, then we should not stay without defense. We should be able to defend ourselves.
لو بعد فترة الحرب ولو بعد داعش سوريا والعراق أشلون راح تكون المسيحية وما هي موقف الكنيسة؟
Question is about if the war continues for a longer time and Daesh is still there, what will be our position? Unfortunately, we will not be there if Daesh continues to spread and to take over more lands. We will not be there to have a stand there. We will be thrown out. We will be forced to leave. Otherwise, we'll have to either convert or pay jizya, and we are not willing to do either of that. So if Daesh continues and takes more lands, that means no one will be able to live there except those who accept Daesh, and obviously will be refugees somewhere here, probably, or some other country. I hope that doesn't happen. I personally tend to believe that Daesh is a phenomenon that was created to basically to implement certain policies, just like the Mujahideen were created in Afghanistan. But then those who created them, they lost control over them. And I have a feeling that's the same situation also with Daesh and al-Nusra. Yes, right now there are countries who are helping Daesh, such as Turkey and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and others. They are helping them because they are looks like they are implementing the policies of these countries. But the time will come when Daesh will attack Saudi Arabia also, will attack Qatar and even Turkey. So at that time, I think everyone would like to get rid of Daesh. I'm hoping, praying this Daesh thing will be a short-term thing, not long-term.
سؤالي هو ما هي المساعدات اللي تقدر كنيستنا يعني تساعدنا على العمل السياسي داخل الكنيسة، وعني العمل مع الأحزاب السياسية بالبلد مثال السويد.
بالتأكيد العمل السياسي هو جزء من حياة الناس، ما لازم نعتبر العمل السياسي شيء خارج عن عمل المجتمع. كل مجتمع لازم يكون في بيناته سياسيين يشتغلوا بالعمل السياسي، ونحن ككنيسة بنشجع الشيء هذا، ولذلك عم نشوف عم نحتاج دائما نفتخر. We always take pride in having members of our church in the parliament and in the political life of the country, because we believe political action is part of the society action. So the life of the society, just as we need doctors, we need engineers, we need writers, we need also politicians who should run the country. And we always encourage our young people to get involved into the political parties and to try to find their way into the leadership of this party. Of course, we love to see that, we encourage them, and we are proud of them.
الجانب الروحي، بماذا توصينا سيدنا وانت على راس الكنيسه السريانيه الارثوذكسيه في العالم؟ بماذا توصينا يا سيدنا؟ نحن الذين في المهجر والذين موجودين هناك في بلادنا الاصليه، بماذا توصينا؟ اريد اسمع من عندك شيء يعرضنا سيدنا ونعرف معاك تقول لي بتر. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's about spirituality and what is my advice. Of course, we talk about politics because we are in the heart of the political center of Sweden. This is where the policies are made. We are talking about politics because that's the purpose of our being here today. But of course, as a church and as a head of this church, my advice is always to remain faithful to our spiritual heritage, remain faithful to our faith that we received at a great cost, and that is the blood of the martyrs. Remain faithful to our traditions, spiritual, religious traditions, wherever we are. We can live our Christianity everywhere we are, especially in countries where there is freedom to do that, such as Sweden. Actually, the danger here is not from restricting or restrictive policies, rather from too much liberty
that some people may abuse that liberty in challenging our faith, in preventing us from displaying our religious symbols, for example. When there is too much liberty, you can tell us, oh, don't put a cross on a certain place in a classroom or in a hospital room, or remove this religious symbol from here and remove from there. So this is the challenge we face in this country. But that should not stop us from being good Christian, faithful, and defending our Christianity in a nice, peaceful way, of course. Defending our Christianity is very important. Christians tend to respect everyone else, their religious feelings. We respect them. We say, oh, this is politically not correct, this is religiously not correct. But when it comes to our own rights as Christians, we shy away from it. We say, no, we do not want to offend others. Well, I think we should protect our Christian symbols as we also protect others.
Sweden is considered a safe haven for Christians, for Christian minorities. And my ancestors were killed in Mali in 1915, and people say they could not anticipate it. Now it is 100 years and still they could not anticipate it, but it's happening again. So rapid changes are happening in our modern society, in the democratic society in the world, in the Western world, and in Sweden as well. For example, problems in Malmö and other places in Sweden. So what do you advise Sweden? What advice do you have for Sweden to protect itself against such Islamic assaults, so that it will still remain safe haven?
I got the question. Thank you. I got the idea. Thank you. Okay. I think it's important to distinguish between two things: between people of faith, of any faith, who live in peace, who demand peace, who pursue peace in their faithfulness to their religion, and between people who politicize faith and religion and who act in the name of their faith to kill others and to violate the rights of others. So we cannot just say all Muslims are bad or Islamic groups are bad. We should be very careful. Daesh is attacking Christians and Muslims also who do not agree with it. We have to make that very clear. Now Sweden has to be careful because of the terrorists that are going from Sweden to do jihad in Syria and Iraq, and they come back here. I hear that at least 25 people from Sweden got killed in Syria and in Iraq doing jihad alongside Daesh and Nusra. And there are more than 250 people from Sweden already fighting there. Some of these people will come back to Sweden. Sweden has to be careful in allowing people to enter here. Though some of the original Swedish people and European people, I mean not only immigrants, but people who are of Swedish origin, also get, at least some of them are not involved. They converted, okay, that's right, they converted into terroristic way of becoming Muslims, into an Islamic fanatical groups of Islam. And these people are dangerous to society. So while receiving the refugees, Sweden has to also have a policy of I don't know how, but they have to know who these people are, why they are coming here. Because with the legitimate refugees, some people with agendas may also enter Sweden, and that will be very dangerous. Again, those who are doing jihad in Sweden, some of them are coming back in Syria or Iraq, or will come back here. So Sweden has to keep a watching eye over these people, and it's a dangerous world we live in. There's no borders anymore in borders that we know are not there anymore. Terrorism has no borders, and it can strike everywhere inside, in the heart of Washington, in the heart of Paris, of Madrid, of Bonn, of Köln. There was some weeks ago, and in Sweden here also there are groups. They are sleeping cells, so we have to be careful.